Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Easy Learn. And today's topic is algebra, within which we're going to be doing quadratic equations. To begin with, quadratic equations can be solved using three methods. First one, zero factor property. The second one is completing the square. And the third one, the quadratic formula. For today's lesson, we're going to be doing the very first one, that is the zero factor property. Now, when we're dealing with zero factor property or perhaps any other method, the very first thing that we need to keep in mind is that the general formula for a quadratic equation looks something like this: ax squared plus bx plus c. Now, this a, b, and c could be any of the numbers that's given to you, and the x squared and the x and the fact that there has to be another number c is represented by this arrangement, right? So we have quadratics are always represented using an x square. Now, in order to solve using the zero factor property, there are four steps. As you can see on the screen, the very first step is a multiplied by the c, and then the second one, find the factors of ac, which means whatever answer you got after multiplying the a with the c, you have to find the factors. By factors, we mean that in which table would you find the number that you've got after multiplying a with c. Then the third step, you have to figure out that the factors that you found, you have to either add or subtract in a way that it should give back the value b. Whatever factor you've got, whatever two factors you've got, those, if you add or subtract, you should get back your b value. And then the last one is that you have to split and write down the factors. Now, what do I mean by split? The b is split, and you have to write those two factors in place of your b, and then you form the factors. Now we're going to look at one example. Let's suppose we have a question like this: x squared plus 2x minus 3. Now, once you have a quadratic equation in front of you, you have to make sure that you remember the general format of the quadratic, that is ax squared plus bx plus c. Now, in this particular situation, you have to see which one's your a, what's your b, and what's your c. Now, c, as you can see, is simply minus 3, and your b is supposed to be, you can't say my b is 2x because x is already there in the general formula. Only the b is the one you have to figure out. So your b is 2, and your a, as you can see, there's nothing with the a. X squared is already there in the general formula. So what is with your x squared? Nothing, which means whenever there is nothing, there's an invisible 1 here. So this means that my a is equal to 1, my b is equal to 2, and my c is equal to negative 3. Don't forget the negative sign. Now I have these three values a, b, c. Now the thing is, we have to solve this equation using the zero factor property. And for that, I need to again list down my steps on the side so that I can solve accordingly. Now the very first step says a multiplied by c. Now what's my a? It's 1. And what's my c? It's negative 3. But when you're finding out the factors, you don't really care about the negative or positive sign. For now, all I know is that I have to do 3 multiplied by 1, which is equal to 3. Now, once you have that, step number 1 is complete. Now, step number 2, find the factors of AC. Now, I have to figure out that what two numbers give me my 3. So, 3 obviously is a prime number, so the only factors that give me 3 is 3 multiplied by 1. So 3 times 1 gives me 3, which means I have these two factors. One is 3 and one is 1. Now, the second step is complete. I got my factors 3 and 1. But what do I have to check now? Add or subtract the factors should give back b, which means that if I add or subtract 3 and 1, I have to see that what is giving me the 2. Now, let's say if I do 3 plus 1, I get a 4. If I do 3 minus 1, I get a 2. If I do, let's say, minus 3 plus 1, I get a minus 2. If I do minus 3 minus 1, I get a minus 4. So, which signs is the most appropriate that gives me back my b? What is this third step? It says add and subtract factors should give back b. So I can't just randomly take 3 plus 1. I can't take, let's say, negative 3, negative 1. What I have to see is that what is giving me my 2 because 2 is my b there. So basically 3, and my 3 should be positive and my 1 should be negative. Only then can I get back my b, that is 2. Now the third step is complete. I figured out that which two factors and what signs give me the b. Now split b and replace with the factors. Now what is my b? It's 2x. I gotta split my 2x and write down the new factors, that is 3 and 1 that I've got. But before that, I need to know that x squared has to be written just the way it is. Similarly, negative 3 also has to be written just the way it is. Now comes the part where this positive 3 and the negative 1, I need to put it down. Now, how do I do that? The 3 is positive, and b, remember that b has x attached with it, right? Here we have a 2x. So I can't just write 3 and 1 just like that. I need to put an x with that. By splitting b, we mean that we split the entire thing. That is, we just split the numbers, but the x stays the same for both the numbers. So I have x squared and negative 3 here. Now this b, I can split it with the new factors, that is positive 3 and negative 1. So I'm going to write x squared plus 3x minus 1x, or just minus x. Minus x is the same as an invisible 1 here. So minus x or minus 1x minus 3. Now that we have this part, what we need to do is that we need to factor them. What do I mean by factor them? You pick out the fourth step is complete. Now we split and we write, and then the last part is to factor them. So now x squared plus 3x, I can take this one as my one single factor, and I can take minus x and minus 3 as the other one. Now for x squared plus 3x, whenever you factor basically means you cut down, you cut short, or you simplify, or you take out the commons, right? So I have to figure out that from x squared plus 3x, what is common? Something that you see common, you have to take it outside. So x and 1x out of the two x's here, because x squared means there are two x's inside. So from the x squared, I remove 1x, and from the 3, I remove the x because that's common between both of them. So I'm going to take my x outside, and now inside I have, because initially it was x squared, now I already took 1x outside from the x squared, and I'm left with the other x. So I'm going to write x plus, now within 3x, I already took out my x outside as the common, so inside I'm just left with 3. That's done. Now the other factor, that is negative x and negative 3. Now if you can see, there is nothing really common between them except the fact that there is a negative sign common between them. So I'm going to take a negative sign outside, and obviously I have to take a 1, because nothing, whenever you don't have anything, any other number common between the two variables or factors, you have to take out 1 as your common. And because both of these are negative, so I'm going to take negative 1 outside, and then inside I have x plus 3. Now why do I write plus 3? Because if I would take negative 3, then negative 1 times negative 3 would give me a positive 3. But the answer here is negative 3. That's why I take a positive 3 inside, so that minus 1 times positive 3 gives me a minus 3. And similarly, minus 1 times x would give me a minus x. So now I have x, and then x plus 3 minus 1, and another factor x plus 3. Now, if I have to, if you look carefully, we have x plus 3 here, we have x plus 3 here. These two factors can be written down as one single factor, just x plus 3. It's basically the same thing, so that's why we just put it down as 1. And now what is left? This x and this minus that are standing outside, these are left. So we don't just let them be. We put them as the second factor, that I have x minus 1. You do x plus 3, and there's no sign in between, which indicates that it's multiplication, and then you have x minus 1. So these are my two factors. If somebody asks you to open this up, x squared plus 2x minus 3, and tell them the factors, then it's x plus 3 and x minus 3. And if we're supposed to find the values of x, if somebody tells you, if the question asks that find the values of x using the zero factor property, then first you have to factor, and once you got your factors, x plus 3 and x minus 1, you equate them to 0 in order to figure out your x. So I can do x plus 3 is one of my factors, equals to 0, and then I can take the 3 to the other side. 3 is positive here, goes to the other side, turns into negative. So one of my values is x equals negative 3. And now I can take the next one, x minus 1 again, equate it to 0. And then if I have to find the second x, isolate the x, make it the subject, When negative 1 goes to the other side, turns into positive, so x is equal to 1. So the values of x are either 1 or negative 3, and the factors are x plus 3 and x minus 1. This is how you use the zero factor property. The steps over here are very important. A times c, then you find the factors of AC, then adding and subtracting those factors should give you back the b, and then you split the b and replace with the factors that you figured out. And then here, once you have everything split up and written, then you have to take out the commons, simplify, and put it in the form of factors. And then if you want to find the values of x, you equate each factor to 0, and then you figure out the values of x. So that's pretty much it. That's how you use the zero factor property on questions that involve quadratics. That's pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching Easy Learn. Do not forget to like, share, and subscribe my channel. And if you have any questions, any confusions, drop them down in the comment section below. Thank you.